The Fantasy Fanatics Podcast on SportsTownChicago.com.
Now it's time for Fantasy Fanatics.
Welcome into Fantasy Fanatics on SportsTownChicago.com. I'm Ryan Stuprich.
I'm Ryan Risky.
And Andrew Freeman is out today.
How'd the show go by yourself?
It was a lot harder than I thought it would be, for sure. It's hard to talk fantasy sports on your own.
I think that's also part of the thing. That's a difficult.
Yeah,
that's something you need conferring opinions.
It's definitely hard to do, but so this is Fantasy Fanatics. We were going to have Chris Simpson on in a few minutes, actually, but he couldn't come on today. He had a couple things he had to attend to, so that's okay. And we'll start off the show by giving you our Twitter handles. You can follow me at Ryan Stuprich, Stuprich.
I am at rrisky16.
Browns and Bengals game.
Drop Andy Dalton if you had him.
Yes, that would definitely be a good thing.
I wish I started someone on a bye this week.
So let's play the fantasy recap intro real quick.
Thursday fantasy recap.
So the Browns, and I got the surprising pick here that I picked them because you and Andrew picked the Bengals, but the Browns won 24-3.
In my defense, I had to pick the Bengals.
Yeah, because
of
you have
Dalton.
Andy Dalton. Yeah.
Boy, I wonder if there was a lot of booing at that game. I didn't watch any of it because just looking at Dalton's stat line, it was just too painful for me to watch.
I was listening on the radio for a little bit of it, and there was one point, I think it was early in the third quarter or about halfway through the third quarter, and Andy Dalton got sacked two times in a row. That's not good.
No, because I remember I was watching Arrow online, and I just kept the box score open on another tab, and I'd check over periodically, and it was during a period where he completed 3 or 4 passes in a row.
Right.
And I'm like, all right, maybe he's starting to get it figured out. It didn't say where the ball was, so I didn't know if they were getting near the red zone or whatever. And then I check again, and then the next pass he threw another interception. I was just like, are you kidding me?
The Bengals had no sacks, not surprising. But
is Geno Atkins still out?
Yes, because I do not see his name on this list.
Unless he just didn't register.
No, never mind. Here he is. He had 1 tackle.
I guess that knee's still bothering him, although the Browns do have a really good offensive line.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. Have you noticed that since Dalton signed that $110 million contract that he's been playing pretty bad?
He has been playing pretty bad ever since he signed that contract.
He has 8 touchdowns and 9 interceptions on the season.
Yeah, that's a really bad touchdown to interception ratio, obviously.
For a $110 million quarterback.
Yeah, that's not good.
That's
obviously.
Andy Dalton this year.
That is Andy Dalton this year. He has been pretty bad, obviously.
A.J. Green had 3 catches.
Right.
Granted, Joe Hayden was probably covering him.
Here's how bad Andy Dalton was. He was only 10 for 33.
And they gave him the yank before he could throw his 4th interception.
Yeah, he had 3 interceptions. He only threw for 86 yards. That's not going to win you any sort of game.
That's not going to win you an NFL game or fantasy game.
Yeah, no. It's especially for fantasy. I mean, if you had any of the Bengals, that was a shame because they didn't even score a touchdown.
Right.
The Browns held them to a field goal.
Hill was our. You could make a case for maybe having Hill.
Sure.
As long as you have him starting because you have Giovanni Bernard.
Right. And then I was playing Andrew Freeman. He had Sanu. Sanu only had 2 receptions for 20 yards. And one of those was an 18-yard, so the other one was just a 2-yard reception.
Yeah, I know at one point, I was actually, when I was keeping up with the Gamecast, when I was watching Arrow, that 18-yard completion to Sano happened because when I saw 1 catch for 2 yards, I was just like, what? Sano has 1 catch?
He had 1 catch. A.J. Green had 3 receptions for 23 yards.
That's not going to win you many fantasy games.
That's very disappointing for people who have him on a team because he hasn't. I mean, he's had a couple of good games this year, right? Hasn't he had a few good games this year?
He's had a few good ones, except he's had a lot of bad ones.
Well, how about A.J. Green? How's he done this year? He's done okay, right? Just a couple games.
He's only played in a couple games as well because he has that toe injury,
right.
That has ligament damage. He has 100-yard game or maybe 2.
Yeah, it was a few weeks ago.
Those are when he was healthy. The week 1 he had 100 yards.
Right.
Except now they're just having him play through that injury just to have his presence on the field.
Mm-hmm.
Remember when the Bengals are 3-0 and everyone was saying that they're like one of the best teams?
I think it all started to fall apart when they got that tie with the Panthers.
Oh, when Nugent missed that field goal with no time left.
Yeah.
From a chip shot.
That's where it was only like a 20 or 30-yard thing. That would have been, that I think was the turning point of their season, I think. Because then they've been trading wins and losses.
A tie is definitely a turning point in your season because that's just a huge letdown.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely something that you should have. And now we've had ties in consecutive seasons. We had a tie last year between the Packers and Vikings. And
then the year before, there was a tie between the 49ers and the Rams when Alex Smith got injured.
Yes, I remember that.
The NFL's got to get rid of these ties. After 15 minutes, just go to college rules.
Yeah. Or they should just play with college rules to begin with, maybe. I'm not sure, but...
Yeah, I mean, these ties are getting outrageous. In a 16-game season, you can't afford any ties where... It's not like soccer where you get a point for a tie and 3 points for a win. It's just like a tie is a tie in the NFL.
And going to the Browns' interceptions, I mean, their defense was really, really good last night, obviously. They had 3 interceptions, 1 by Craig Robertson and 2 by Buster Skrine.
I'm going to be honest, I've never heard of that guy before.
I have not heard of him either. That's why I'm not exactly sure what the last name is, but
he picked off Dalton twice.
He picked up Dalton twice. When there's a no-name that picks off Dalton twice, it might be time to drop Andy Dalton in all facets. I
wish that I could drop him and then just leave my quarterback spot vacant for this week.
Yeah, because then you wouldn't. Now, how many points did he get you? Did he get you negative points?
He got me -4.
-4. Oh boy, that sucks.
Last week, Rivers got -2 with an injury, and coming out of the game, leaving the game early because of injury. That was acceptable because he injured his throwing hand and tried to stay in the game.
Right.
Andy Dalton was just flat out terrible yesterday.
He was. He was just really bad.
He started out 1 for 8 passing with for 5 yards. Remember, I think that when we ended the Renegades yesterday, he was 1 for 8 with 5 yards passing.
Yeah, and
an interception.
And now going to Brian Hoyer's numbers, he was 15 for 23, threw for 198 yards. Not amazing, but that's pretty good. But that's pretty good for Hoyer.
And considering what his receiving core is.
Yeah.
And then Jeremy Hill going and saying, oh, the Browns are not that good. Well, they beat you 24-3. And then he's like, the Browns didn't win that game. We lost it.
Well, the Browns have had a pretty easy schedule because they were bad last year, but they still have to play the teams in their division. They still have to play the Ravens and the Steelers. And
twice.
Yeah. And they're 6-3 now. Are they tied with the lead with the Steelers now? I think they are.
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, well...
I'm pretty sure the Steelers are 6-3
The Steelers will be up
well.
a half game after they manhandle the Jets.
Right.
Because they haven't had their bye.
But, I mean, the Browns are right there, and that's very unexpected.
And the thing is, they won the Battle of Ohio, too. It's one thing for Dalton to have a bad game like this. It's one thing for it to be in, probably your biggest game of the year for the Battle of Ohio. That's a game people are looking forward to, and that was in Dalton's home stadium.
Right. So here was the scoring summary. Tate had a 4-yard run.
Which I had him starting in fantasy.
Okay.
It's not enough.
And Isaiah Crowell had a 2-yard run in the second quarter. And then Terrence West had a 1-yard run in the third quarter, and that was the 3 touchdowns scored by Cleveland. So they were all runs, but they were all very good, and Hoyer was able to get him down the field. As I said, he was 15 for 23. That's pretty good.
Yeah, he's been a game manager this year.
Mm-hmm. And now I think the people that were calling for Johnny Manziel to be the starter, I think they're starting to push back a little bit because Hoyer's done a pretty nice job.
Everyone except Johnny Manziel is pushing
yeah,
back.
Well, everyone except the guy, right? Yeah, everyone except Johnny Manziel. Coming up in a couple segments, we're going to go through our Week 10 picks. This is Week 10, right? Yes. We're going to go through
Week 10.
Our Week 10 picks. And then we will also go through some more ads and drops. We'll look at our fantasy league. Our fantasy league's pretty average, so we'll look and see what the ads and drops are. Maybe some guys you'll want to add and drop for that.
Is that a good idea? Because we have 2 guys in our league that really hoard the market.
Well, that's true, but for everyone listening, we're gonna play it.
The Fantasy Fanatics podcast on SportsTownChicago.com.